after reading a lot of negative comments online, especially on Facebook, racist book, yeah, no shit, no kidding, that you get these subhumans that is calling every German that served in World War II as a Nazi and a war criminal. Especially the Waffen SS. Now, I'm not going to defend the Waffen SS for who they are, just like Japan's Kempeitai and the Russian NKVD. And all three of these entities has done a considerable amount of war crimes during the Second World War. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Waffen SS. And there's thousands of videos on YouTube about the Waffen SS, but we're going to talk about the numbers for a moment. And also, since everybody is talking about their Nazis, okay, that very few in the military ever joined the Nazi Party. There was approximately 8 million has joined the Nazi Party, but you got to remember most of those were civilians because it's considered a political party, not a military party. That doesn't stop any high-ranking officers from joining, right? Reinhard Heydrich, he was a party member. And he flew missions with the Luftwaffe. So he's kind of an example of a higher-ranked military officer that joined the Nazi Party. But we're going to talk about the Waffen SS for a second. Okay? The Waffen SS, there's approximately 900,000 that was in the Waffen SS, including foreign volunteers and conscripts. Okay, well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen that's watching this video, is not every Waffen SS member was a war criminal. Okay? So they're like, oh, yes, they are because they're Waffen SS. You got conscripts as young as 16 years old. So, in order for them to be, all of them to be war criminals, those 900,000, including foreign troops and conscripts, take one bullet and kill one Russian or Pole or Czech. So you would have 900,000 murders. Okay, that's with one bullet apiece for everybody, for all 900,000 of them. Okay, so you might get your 1 million atrocities, war crimes, I mean, they're going to spend almost 1 million bullets on one person at a time. So if that's true, then where would they get the numbers for the Jews, right? At least out in the field before the camps were made. And it was run by the SS, not the Waffen SS. It was the SS that actually ran the death camps. And then some of those guys in the early part of the war was later transferred to the Waffen SS, where they have to go fight. You got to go fight now, dude. Okay, shit, that sucks. So the Schaltstaffel, you got the Panzer Divisions, Panzer Grenadiers, you got all those guys. And these liberal online ass clowns are claiming that they're all war criminals. Then, when you throw the numbers at them, now they're saying that all Germans are war criminals. That's including the infantry, the medics, the communication units, the flak. You know, here's a flak badge. Luftwaffe flak badge from the Second World War. These guys are war criminals for shooting at the bombers and aircraft. You know, so there's, 10 million in uniform? 10 million or more? Right? The German army had 13.6 million in uniform. 13.6 million in uniform. That's just the Wehrmacht. The Wehrmacht alone. Okay? So if they're war criminals, we're going to give each of them a bullet. So now we got 900,000 war crimes. We got another 13,600,000 war crimes. You know, and then let's go on to the Kriegsmarine. I mean, you guys all know where this is going, right? You guys know where this is going. The Kriegsmarine, they're war criminals, and they lumped them all together. So that's another 1,500,000 more. One with a single bullet. Okay? We're getting the numbers here, folks. We're getting the numbers, right? So then they go to the Luftwaffe. Well, shit. They're war criminals too. They got 3.4 million. So let's give them all one bullet. And we'll add another 3.4 million war crimes, atrocities, shooting of prisoners. Let's do that too. So how much is that? Roughly 22, 23, almost 23, 24 million people. So if that's true, then, you know, World War II would be, in Europe, would be pretty much done. That's 20-something million deaths. But those deaths would be civilians. They wouldn't be the regular military. They would not be fighting against the Russians or the Americans, the British, the French, right? These are just 20-something million civilians. Okay? So that makes them all war criminals. You guys are all war criminals. You killed 20-something million civilians with bullets, one bullet piece. Okay, that's not including the gas chambers, gas vans, right? Buried alive, you know, machine guns, you know, bombings. So, these fucking clowns, man, to call every German a Nazi is just stupid. You know, let's go on to the Nazi Party itself. Did the Nazi Party, each of those members take a pistol and shoot somebody? Fewer than 60 in 1920. 8.5 million in 1945. This is including the National Socialist German Students Unit, the Hitler Youth, the National Social Women's League, the SA, the SS Motor Corps, Flying Corps. Okay, these are all, it is the idea of the people's community. This is, you know, these are political, it's a political party, right? So, if we're going to do that, then let's give them each a gun and have these 8.5 million just march in just somewhere in fucking Russia and put one bullet into each Russian civilian, so you wipe out another 8.5 million civilians, right? So, and the ideology is politicians, okay? It's basically, it was a political movement, the Nazi Party. And I would like to know, how can a fucking conscript, we're going to type in how much money join Nazi Party. Okay. Still, they say it moves. There is some money exchanged, but they're not sure how much. All right, so if you're a 16-year-old conscript and they grab you and say, you're constricted, dude, you are on conscript, you're going to the Waffen SS. And there was plenty of kids in the Waffen SS, especially the 12th Waffen SS Hitlerjuden. And do you think all those fucking kids have money to be able to join a political party? They just want to survive, right? So, wow. So it's just, okay, total deaths, World War II, Euro. Okay. The estimation is 15 to 20 million. The killed vary from 35 million to 60 million. That's with everybody. That's with everybody in Europe. Everybody. Okay? The Soviet Union supposedly lost 24 million civilian and military deaths. Okay, we did the bullet thing. One bullet for each of those parties, each of the military units and unit personnel get one bullet. They get to kill one Russian. There's your answer right there. One bullet took care of everybody. So you didn't need bombs, planes, submarines, battleships. You didn't need all that shit. To see how the numbers, you brain dead people don't see the numbers here. Okay? We lost 418,500 in the United States, World War II. Yugoslavia lost 1 million. United Kingdom lost 450,000. So, how is that possible? Okay, we're not even going to go to Japan yet. Okay? So, you got the Luftwaffe guys. This is a death card of a Luftwaffe guy. This guy served as a radio man in the Luftwaffe. Wasn't flying. He was on the ground in a radio station that got bombed by the British. Okay? Well, this guy's a war criminal because he was radioing and directing Luftwaffe fighters and bombers to kill people, right? Just, oh boy. I'm like, okay. Then you get these uneducated cocksuckers. As soon as you say the First World War, Germany, oh my God, the Nazis, fuck the Nazis. It's Imperial Germany, dude. There wasn't any Nazis. The first Nazis didn't show up until about 1920. Oh, they're all Nazis, they're all Nazis. You all joined the Nazi Party. No. Okay. All right, let's humor these assholes. How many World War I vets joined Nazi Party? This guy calls it veterine. Okay, veterine. And these people obviously didn't get it right because they couldn't even spell it correctly. Talk about World War I veterans. And less than a handful, according to this. According to Kotora online. Less than handfuls. Okay, the only World War I veterans that mainly joined the Nazi Party are guys like Ernest Röhm, Hermann Goering, Adolf Hitler, of course, who ran the whole fucking show. But there was a few million that survived World War I who never rejoined the German army. They never rejoined. They just got out and says, I'm going back to my farm. I'm going to try to make a life of this disaster of what's going on in Germany. See? I mean, these fellas. World War I veterans. Okay? World War I. Do they look like Nazis? These are guys that just wanted to get the damn war over with and survive. An Iron Cross of the First World War. You don't see a swastika in there, do you? No swastika? Imperial German Army. Or, everything. How about a wound badge from the First World War? A German wound badge. You don't see a swastika on it. Okay? There ain't Nazis. Some of these guys joined the Free Corps and fought against the communists. Oh, but they were attacking Jews and everything. I said, oh my God, the Free Corps was mostly fighting against the communists. The communists called the Spartans. So, the Nazi Party and all this other stuff. So get it out of your goddamn heads. And not every freaking German that served in the German military in World War II are Nazis. Now, we're going to go on to an interesting that everybody seems to be so focused on the Germans. Let's go on to Imperial Japan with the Kempeitai. Okay, at the end peak, it was extensive. It had 35,000 personnel. But these personnel committed a lot of atrocities. They targeted students, farmers, socialists, communists, pacifists, foreign workers, or any showing reverence to the emperor. These guys has done torture methods caught at Kempeitai schools. They actually have schools for torture. They actually have schools for torture, the Kempeitai has, including flogging, waterboarding, burning, scalding, administration of electric shocks, knee joint separation, suspended ropes, strap-on sharp edges, fingernails, toenail removals, and digit fracturing. They also ran the network of prisoner of war camps and civilian internment camps. Roughly, and of course, they treated detainees in violation of the Geneva Convention of 1925, which is not ratified by Japan. Internment camps had a total of 350,000 prisoners were taken and housed in 176 camps in Japan and about 500 in the occupational territories. The Kempeitai impressed many POWs and civilians into slave labor gangs for war work and subjected to tortures, including standing inside small cages set up on top of red ant nests, lashing to trees with barbed wires. Prisoners were forced to sign non-escape oath. Those who escape or recapture subjected to beatings and tortures as examples in front of other prisoners. 27% of Allied POWs taken by Japan during the war died in captivities. The camp guards are often Korean or Formosan, were also abused by Kempeitai superiors. Okay? Court martials, beheading of Americans, including the New Zealanders, the Australians. So, how about this? For all you people that are anti-German, guess what the Kempeitai did? In 1942, it carried out the Seoul Ching, a mass killing in Singapore after it fell to the Japanese. In October of 1943, in the double tent incident, arrested and tortured 57 people in response to an Allied raid in Singapore Harbor. 15 of them died in custody. In 1944, the Kempeitai arrested 1,918 persons on Java, whose 743 died while in custody. 439 of them were executed. In March of 1944, the Kempeitai brutally suppressed a riot in Taski Malaya in western Java, killing several hundred Muslims. Muslim leader Zal Mustafa and 23 of his disciples were later executed. Okay? The friggin' list goes on, including the biological warfare program under Unit 7351 in Harbin, Manchuria, which they used Allied POWs and tortured them. There was a man named Ahmed Maktir of the Ecuadorian Institute in Jakarta who treated many of the victims of deliberately contaminating the vaccines to slave labor for the Japanese and imprisoned him for 9 months before beheading him and running him over with a steamroller. You see, there was an outbreak of tetanus amongst hundreds of laborers in Java and possibly tied to biological warfare program. He also organized extensive criminal networks that extorted vast amount of money from business and civilian areas that they operated. Forced prostitution systems for the Imperial Army, whose victims were known as comfort women, all-female Tokyo Rose radio propaganda broadcast. Okay? So, these people get a fucking pass. So you go after the Germans and calling them war criminals. How can you... very few of these cocksuckers were ever... Some of them did prison time. 3, 5 years, 10 years. Very few of them were executed. Very few. And they got away with it because the Cold War with the Russians. Oh! And yet, fucking Hirohito, the cocksucking fucking Emperor of Japan, was giving a free pass. Instead of hanging that motherfucker from a lamppost, which we didn't do. So we really sucked it to the Nazi leadership, surviving Nazi leadership. But the Japs pretty much got away with everything. And then when war crimes came up against the fucking Russians, they were given a fucking pass. They were giving a pass. They were allowed to get away with murder because of the war. Such as Operation Polish, 1938. Those cocksuckers murdered 111,096 Poles in less than 6 months. And then we're not going to talk about the Katyn forest incident, where 11,000 Polish military officers and intellectuals were found their hands tied behind their back with a bullet strike to the head. And then they tried to blame the Germans on it. And the same bunch of dickheads, as of right now, is still doing war crimes against the Ukrainians as we speak. The Russians... Fucking Putin, I mean, they're going and trying to get this guy for war crimes. You know, he's never gonna leave and try to go to a country that he's capable of getting snatched up. You know, and this guy, he's been, I mean, and these assholes are allowed to get away with it. It's just, you know, they murdered between 20 to 30,000 civilians in the first Chechen war alone. And then further 25,000 the second Chechen war. And they attacked the Georgians, civilians, with cluster bombs. And then, of course, the Ukrainian against the Ukrainians. And of course, we already know what they did in the Second World War and the Big Purge. And yet, because, well, we can't go after the Russians because they're our fucking allies in World War II, you know. And nobody's talking about them. Then, you know, back to the Nazis. Then, what about Hamas? What about the Taliban? They're freedom fighters. We're all for the freedom fighters. Because we're stupid fucking liberals. You know, drinking too much of fucking Bernie Sanders fucking bathwater, you know. Fucking people, man. And now the same thing is going on in Israel and the Gaza. And, you know, these assholes, they go across the border, they kill 1,200 people, including kids. Then they took hostages, and then they raped the women and killed a whole bunch of the hostages. And then they expect the fucking Israelis to sit back and let that happen? They went in for revenge, dude. And, I mean, if we're talking about war crimes, I mean, these Hamas idiots should know by reputation of what fucking Israel's all about. They've been fighting these jack-offs since 1948. They should know how the Israelis are going to take it. They weren't going to take it. And now the entire world, free Palestine! Oh my God, yeah, you support a bunch of fucking terrorists. And Israel gave the Palestinians enough time to get out of town when they rolled in. And they didn't. Some of them went to the Egyptian borders, some went further up north. Try to get away from the war. I mean, I get it. I would. But now, you open heart bleeding liberal types are attacking and yelling at the Germans. Some of you Indian idiots. Oh my God. The fucking, the white man murdered 20 million Indians. Oh my God. You guys are murderers. And I said... And I looked at the numbers, and they didn't have 20 million motherfucking Indians, right? You know? Total population, and I told this, total popu of Indians in 1800s. Okay? Not India, Indians, American Indians. There we go. All right, so around 1800, the indigenous population in the United States is around 600,000. The significant decline from the estimated 5 million who lived in North America before the settlers arrived in 1492, by 1900 has dropped off by a further 237,000. Okay? We're talking about, now they're talking about the American genocide of the Indians, so. Okay, so first of all, you get these jackoffs are saying, well, you murdered 20 million Indians. Well, first of all, there wasn't 20 million Indians in North America in the 1800s. You're not even remotely, you are over it by 500+%. That's just fucking ridiculous. Yeah, but they killed them and murdered them, so that would require one bullet for each settler to kill 20 million Indians. So we need 20 million white settlers to come over on the Mayflower, breed like rats for a few years, and go out and murder every fucking Indian and go all the way across the United States to do it. Oh, your diseases and everything like that. Dude, what about the Black Plague? What about the Spanish flu of 1918? The COVID spreads anyway. It's not our fucking fault that you're not, that your immune system suck ass, living in the cold climate or whatever. So now they're saying that the white man murdered 20 million fucking Indians, but they didn't even have anywhere near that fucking number. Not even anywhere near. And there's not even 20 million people in the fucking world. Maybe what, 30, 40 million at most? Oh, you killed 20 million of it. So you're taking half of the world's population in Europe, Japan, China, Mongolia, India, all that shit. Half of them are American Indians, and you killed all of them. Okay? Do the numbers. Educate yourself. Research it. So, that is the end of this video. I got to stop reading comments online because I think what happened is because the internet came up, people can just type in whatever trash they can put on, and there's idiots that'll believe it. Oh, well, we didn't land on the moon. JFK was not assassinated. 9/11 was an inside job. The best one I read yet was the Titanic conspiracy. That was not the Titanic that sank. That was the Olympic. So they turn around and switch the name Olympic to Titanic. And they on purposely sank the ship to collect the insurance. So, here I am at the age of 61. I got maybe 10 or 11 years left before I end up going tits up if I make it that far. So all you young people are just going to have to, you guys are doomed because of the stupidity, the lack of research, the lack of cross-reference. Go eat your vegan sandwiches, you fucking clowns.